do investigative reporting on crimes and murders and issues in the culture, all sorts of different things. And so, two guys that make videos, they're Christian guys, they're the Skip guys. We watched some videos about those Skip guys. They're really funny. They made this one, and it's I think it's entitled "To Catch a Double Dipper." So just watch it. It's like 5 minutes long, but I promise it has a point.
An epidemic is spreading across the nation. People don't talk about it because it's vile and disgusting. However, we here at Great Line want to expose this virus, try to put an end to its surging rise to normalcy. This sickness is called double dipping. Double dipping takes place in public and private settings. This is where an individual takes a chip, dips it, takes a bite of it, and then redips or double dips the chip back into the bowl. Double dipping a chip after taking a partial bite is a dining sin, or at least a cultural faux pas. In essence, the chip must be pure. A bit chip is putting everyone at risk for a common cold, but much worse, it just looks sick. We find Jim Ruffle, a local waiter at El Guapo Mexican restaurant.
Hello.
Well known in his community, a churchgoer and a double dipper. Jim thinks he's coming over to his buddy's house to watch the game and partake in his buddy's chip and dip. Great Line is there with cameras rolling as we get the whole thing on tape and expose Jim for what he really is.
Hello. Hey, Gary. Gary, where are you? Gary, game's about to start.
Hi, Jim. How are you?
Hey, where's Gary?
He's upstairs. Actually, he'll be right down.
Brought some chips.
Well, good. Let's set them down with the rest. Help yourself to the dip.
Okay.
So,
All right.
make yourself at home.
Okay.
It's actually my week to do laundry, so I better get this started.
Okay.
Enjoy the game.
All right.
Jim doesn't waste any time. It's obvious why he's here. And like almost every double dipper we've seen, Jim looks to the left, then the right, to make sure no one knows what he's about to do. Little does he know, we have a surprise for him. Hi there.
Hey.
Oh, please, have a seat. Enjoying the chips?
Yeah, they're good.
And the dip?
Yeah, that's good too. Where's Gary?
Gary's safe. Let's talk about you.
What do you want to talk about me for?
You, sir, were double dipping.
No, I wasn't double dipping. But
Please, sir, we both know what just happened here, and you double dipped.
I didn't mean to. No, I don't think I did. I think
You don't think
no,
you
I
did?
don't know
You
what
don't mean to?
No.
Well, sir, answer me this. What is this? Is this not a half-eaten chip with your saliva on it?
That was in there when I got here.
It was in there when you got it?
Yes.
Is that nacho cheese dip not have French onion dip swirled in it? Did the French onion dip grow legs and crawl in there?
I don't know how the evolution process works. It may
You
have.
don't know.
I don't know.
So are you going to tell me that you didn't communicate to Gary using the screen name Salsa Forever 12 and suggest the idea of double dipping?
What? I don't know. Maybe. I don't.
You don't know.
No, it wasn't
Maybe.
intentional.
The problem is, sir, I have the transcripts right here from your chat room. What Jim didn't know is that he wasn't talking to Gary at all. He was actually talking to a member of Picante Justice, posing as Gary online.
What's a party without chips?
Will there be dip?
Lots of dip. Gotta make sure get a lot of bowls for all the people.
Why? One big bowl for everyone to dip out of is great.
Aren't you afraid of double dipping?
Don't knock it till you've tried it. LOL.
So, sir, you admit this is you.
Yeah, but I've never double dipped.
You've
until
never
today.
double dipped
No,
until
I don't.
today.
I don't even like dip.
You don't like
No,
dip.
I don't like
Sir,
dip,
can you
no.
see yourself?
Yeah.
You're petting the dip even as we're speaking.
Okay. You know. Okay, look. I just came to watch a game with Gary.
You came to watch the game.
Yeah, I wasn't planning on coming to the door going,
You
oh,
weren't planning
today,
on it.
today I'll double dip chips or something like
No
that.
plans at all.
That wasn't my plan at all.
No.
No, I wasn't even thinking.
Really?
That. Who are you and why are you
So-
asking me these questions?
What's in the bag, Jim?
Nothing.
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 Really?
Yeah, really. What are you getting at? Who are you? What does all this mean? I don't...
This is the part where I tell you that I'm Kurt Jansen with the TV program Great Line, and we're doing a show on people who intentionally double dip their chips.
Okay, look, when I was a kid, I had a lot of fun dip, okay? I had a lot of fun dip.
Fun
and,
dip.
and it was fun, and it was dip, and it just got out of control, okay? It's not my fault.
It's not your fault.
No.
Jim, we all have secrets from our past, but at some point, don't you think we have to take responsibility for our own actions?
I just like dip.
You like
Yes, I like dip.
Jim?
Stop it! Okay?
The sad truth is, most of these double dippers are living among us in our neighborhoods, and most states are doing nothing about it. But the real question is, what are your secrets? What is it you find yourself looking to the left and then to the right about, making sure nobody's watching? Next time, be careful, or you just might find me, Kurt Jansen, waiting to catch you.
Alright, so kind of silly, you know? Double dipping, don't do it. I was talking with some girls the other day, and I'll keep them anonymous. And they were talking kind of casually about their school, and they were talking about a friend at their school, and they were saying they were just talking about this one girl that they know, and this other girl that they know, and they were saying this one girl, like, yeah, they're friends, but really she's just a fake friend to them. And so I'm a dude, right? I'm 29, so I'm unfamiliar with this term. I'm like, a fake friend? What? Like, y'all know this? You know she's a fake friend? Like, what is a fake friend? And so I asked them. I said, well, she's just really nice to her in public. You know, I mean, she kind of has to be around her because of this or that. And but really, she doesn't have her back. Really, she'll do anything to hurt her. And if she got a chance, she really wouldn't be her friend. And any dudes know that term, fake friend? Anybody? Oh, so this is like a common thing. Okay. Well, I was shocked. I was just like, oh, wow. They like call it what it is. It just sounds exhausting to me, right? That like I gotta figure out, okay, these are my real friends, these are my fake friends, and not only that, I gotta decide who am I gonna be a real friend with, and who am I just gonna pretend to be a friend with? You know, like, it just seems exhausting, right? Why would I just be real? It's kind of silly. It just sounds exhausting trying to keep up this appearance, right? That I got it together. No, we're friends, we're tight. But then behind their back, you're saying all kinds of stuff, right? I didn't realize that was a common term. But I think it goes along with this video in the sense of this. We all have things that we're trying to hide about us. We all have, the Bible calls it sin. We all have junk, we all have sin that we really don't want other people to know about us. And so we will do whatever it takes to kind of cover that up, even if it means being a fake friend to somebody or putting on this mask somewhere. And it's kind of like this guy in here, he's got this secret habit of double dipping, right? And that's silly, right? Double dipping is not a sin, by the way, if you're in 7th grade. That's okay. It's okay if you do that, God will forgive you, but it's not a sin. But we all have things like that. And what will happen is like that guy, my favorite part is when he like tries to attack the cameraman at the end. But like when he gets confronted about his double dipping, he's like, he just lashes out. Every excuse known to man. I didn't mean to. I didn't know I was doing it. I don't think I did it. I might have done it. Nothing's in the bag. Like, it's my childhood. I had a lot of fun dip. And he's covering his face like anything he can to avoid addressing the issue, right? Instead of just going, yeah, I did stick my finger in that one, right? And that's what happens with us too, right? And it's a silly representation, but it's exactly what happens to us is that we all have things that we're trying to hide for some reason. And Paul's going to address that issue tonight in Romans chapter 2. We're going to try to cover the whole thing in the next 20 minutes. It may not be possible, but we're going to try. But Paul's going to address this issue tonight of being two-faced. What does it mean to be two-faced? If somebody's two-faced, what are they going to be? Okay, so you're one thing to these people. You got one face for them, but then when you turn around, you got a whole other face for them. Right? Paul's going to address that. He's going to address being overly religious. He's going to address thinking that you're something because you come to church. He's going to address being hypocritical. What does it mean to be a hypocrite?
You say something, you say you're going to do something.
Okay, you say you're going to do something, but you don't. Or you say you don't do something and you do it. Or you say something and then you just do the opposite. It's real similar to being two-faced. You're showing one face to these people, but when it really comes down to the real you, I got another face. I got another personality. Right? Paul's also going to address being fake. What does it mean to be fake? What's the opposite of being fake? Lie. What's the opposite of being fake? Real. By being real, being honest, being okay with this is who I am. And Paul's going to address those issues. Now, when we read this, you're going to go, Byron, I don't see any of those words. I don't understand what he's talking about when he says Jew and Gentile and circumcision and all these things. Here's one. Paul's addressing what we're talking about. This hypocrisy, this two-facedness. That's not a word. Paul's two-facedness. Quote that one for you. Paul's going to address some issues that they face that we don't face. But we're trying to apply it to our lives. Here's the point. And this is what we said last week, is that we're all sinners. Anybody not a sinner in the room? Anybody not a sinner? Now, if I ask the opposite question, who has sinned? Who's a sinner? And who knows it, right? Most of us would raise our hands. So if we're all sinners, why do we pretend like we're not? Why do we pretend? Why are we fake? Why are we faking that we have everything together, that we've got everything perfect, and everything in our life is just great now? I never mess up, and I'm great, and they're terrible. Why are we like that if we really know that all of us are jacked up? Why are we so worried about having other people like us, and think well of us, and respect us, and think that we have everything together? Why are we so consumed with that, and not consumed with pleasing God who made us and will ultimately one day judge us? Why are we so concerned about each other when God is watching? When God's husband has a bottle and he is excited. All right, let's read. We're going to read a chunk, talk about a chunk, read a chunk, talk about a chunk. So we'll read verses 1 through 4, I think. 1 through 4. Romans 2, here we go. Aiken, you got it? Here we go. Lord. You may think you may think you can condemn such people, but you are just as bad, and you have no excuse. When you say they are wicked and should be punished, you're really condemning yourself. For you who judge others do these very same things. Like Paul's not kidding around, he just comes at us. Verse 2 it says, and we know that God in his justice will punish anyone who does such things. And since you judge others for doing these things, why do you think you can avoid God's judgment when you do the same things? Verse 4. Don't you see how wonderfully kind, tolerant, and patient God is with you? Does this mean nothing to you? Can't you see that his kindness is intended to turn you from your sin? And Paul lets him have it up front. He just before this, he had made that big long list, and we read it last week at the very end of, man, if you're doing this, then you're a sinner. And he lists of disobeying your parents and quarreling and murder and all these things, right? And he says, you think that you can point the finger, man, look how bad they are. I can't believe she did that. I can't believe he said that. That dude is terrible. She is the worst. He says when we do that, we condemn others for how bad they are. He's saying, no, watch your fingers, right? Because you're not pointing at them, you're pointing at yourself. What's really happening is we're just like that guy. That he's like any excuse he can to avoid the fact that he's a double dipper. Right? We're going to try to distract everyone from us. Right? If we're going to point, but you remember what she did? You remember what she said to that kid? You remember what he did to that person? You remember how he talked about her? You remember what they did that night? Right? We're gonna throw stones. Right? If anything gets pointed at us, if we feel any sort of conviction about what we've done is wrong, what we're going to do is lash out. No. Remember her? Remember how bad that was? Yeah, but I was justified in doing this. And Paul says, no. See, we want them to be punished. We want them, the evil ones. But what Paul is saying is, you are them. We all, because we have sinned, we're in that same boat. We like to think that everyone, we're so good and everyone else is so bad. And Paul's saying, no. You really got your mindset wrong. Here's the deal. Some people's sin gets very public really quickly, right? If you're a public figure, if you're whatever, something happens in front of your class or whatever, and your sin gets known by everybody. But then a lot of people kind of get to hide this. It's something that doesn't come out. It's something that not everybody knows about. But I'm telling you what, I've been a pastor long enough to know that if you knew everything about a person, you'd realize they're just as jacked up as you are. No matter what position they have, no matter how important they are, no matter how godly they may seem, everybody sins. Okay? Don't put your faith too much in one person, even me. Okay? Right? Everybody's jacked up. And some people's sin is right out on display. They just wear it on their sleeves. But some people's hidden, and it never comes out, and you never know. But what Paul is teaching us, and this is I'm not playing around. I'm just reading you what he's saying, and I'm trying to explain it. What Paul is saying is that we're all jacked up. And when we try to make ourselves better and say, well, it's not my fault, or this person did that, Paul's saying, you're missing the point. Just own it. Just own it. Verse 5. Let's keep going. Verse 5 through 11. But because you are stubborn, Paul's so direct. But because you are stubborn and refuse to turn from your sin, you're storing up terrible punishment for yourself. For a day of anger is coming when God's righteous judgment will be revealed. He will judge everyone according to what they have done. And he will give eternal life to those who keep on doing good, seeking after the glory and honor and immortality that God offers. But he will pour out his anger and wrath on those who live for themselves, who refuse to obey the truth, and instead live lives of wickedness. There will be trouble and calamity for everyone who keeps on doing what is evil. For the Jew first and also for the Gentile. He's just saying for everybody. Verse 10, but there will be glory and honor and peace from God for all who do good. For the Jew first and also for the Gentile. For God does not show favoritism. For God does not show favoritism. Paul starts this section by saying this. He says that we can get caught up in this lifestyle of sin that we kind of get callous to it. What's a callus? If you play the guitar, you develop calluses on your finger, right? Because you just worn them down so much that you really don't have feeling. It doesn't hurt anymore. You can just shred all day long and no big deal, right? Right, Parker? You don't feel pain in your fingers. Who works outside a lot? Who works outside a lot? You've got calluses on your hands, right? Or if you're a pansy, you're wearing gloves and you don't have calluses on your hands. I'm just kidding. But old, grown men, shake Willie Luker's hands, okay? Before you leave, go shake his hand. The dude's got some calluses, right? But what happens in our lives sometimes is we get callous to sin. And we start to think a couple of different things. We start to think, man, God doesn't really see this. God's not really there. God doesn't know what's happening. We think that, or we think, man, but it's okay, I'm forgiven. It's no big deal. We just get callous. We don't feel anymore. We don't feel conviction. And what Paul is trying to remind us is this. He's saying there is a God, and he is like a judge. And one day, there will come a day when he will judge us based on how we have lived our lives. We forget that. We get callous to that. But there's coming this day, and that's what he says. He says he's going to judge us based on what we do now. Stick with me, okay, because this may sound wrong when I'm saying it first time. But God's going to judge our lives based on what we do. And he says, if you've obeyed and been perfect, then you'll receive life. And if you've disobeyed and chose evil, then you'll receive death. That's it. I can tell you what his judgment will be. It's no secret. We're not just wondering how's he going to decide the Supreme Court. We know. And if you've been perfect, you'll get life. If you've not been perfect, you'll get death. How many people fall in this category that they've been perfect ever? How many? How many? One. Who is it? Jesus, right? It's your Sunday school answer time. Jesus. One person. So when we come before the King, that means that we're in this category. Right? If I sin, then I deserve death. Right? That's what he says. Just straightforward. He's not messing around. He says he's not going to be a God of favoritism. It doesn't matter who your daddy is. It doesn't matter who your mommy is. It doesn't matter how much money you have. It doesn't matter how much influence you have. It doesn't matter any of that. When you come before God, none of that matters. God is not going to show favoritism that day. If you have not been perfect, you get death. If you have been perfect, you get life. So who gets life? It's one person, Jesus. Now you're like, what are you talking about? That doesn't sound like what you've said for 2.5 years. How do we get in this side? How do we get life? Well, God says that he sent his one son because he knew we could never be perfect, to live a perfect life that we couldn't. And one day he would get life because he obeyed. He'd been perfect. And if we put our faith in him, what happens on that day is when God stands to judge, we walk in front of him, and instead of seeing Byron, instead of seeing me and looking at my record, man, you really screwed up. And I can't believe you spoke to your wife like that. Instead of doing that, he's going to go, I'm going to plead. I know Jesus. And he said if I put my faith in him, he'd give me life. Right? And God's going to look down and go, okay, you're one of mine. Come on. Right? He's going to be fair because Jesus gives me his righteousness that I could never earn. But what Paul is saying here, that's how it's going to be. God will judge us. Verse 12. Let's keep going. I'm not going to finish. Verse 12. When Gentiles sin, they will be destroyed. Now, again, some of this you're like, whoa, that's real straightforward. When Gentiles sin, they will be destroyed, even though they never had God's written law. And the Jews who do have God's law will be judged by that law when they fail to obey it. Listen to this one. Verse 13. For merely listening to the law does not make us right with God. It's obeying the law that makes us right in his sight. It's not just listening, but it's obeying, it's doing it. Verse 14. Even Gentiles who do not have God's written law show that they know his law when they instinctively obey it, even without having heard it. They demonstrate that God's law is written in their hearts for their own conscience and thoughts, either accuse them or tell them they are doing right. And this is the message I proclaim, that the day is coming when God or Jesus Christ will judge everyone's secret life. No matter who you are, whether you're a Jew or Gentile, who he is addressing. So when we say Jew, think church person, right? When we say Gentile, think non-church person, right? So he says whether you're a church person or a non-church person, whether you were there all the time or you never even knew anything about it, whether you had the appearance of being a good person or whether everybody knew you were a bad person. He says it doesn't matter. At the end of all things, God will judge. And Paul says what makes us right is not just because you showed up and listened to me blab on for 30 minutes every Wednesday night about God's word. He's saying that's not what matters. He says merely listening to the word does nothing. It's obeying that makes us right in his sight. See, just showing up every week here, I've said this so many times and I'll say it so many more. You showing up in this room, you showing up in that church, you showing up at another church every week for the rest of your life doesn't make you a Christian. It doesn't. No more than me showing up to lacrosse practice and listening to the lacrosse coach talk all this strategy about how to play lacrosse and techniques and all this stuff. Does that make me a lacrosse player if I sit on the sidelines and listen to the coach for years? No, right? I don't know anything about lacrosse. I love watching it. I don't know anything about how to play. Merely listening to the word does nothing. He says, what matters is your obedience. What matters is how you live. And in the end, what Paul says is that we will be judged based on how we live, not what we heard. Let's keep going because he's going to say something else about how we will be judged. Verse 17, we'll read through 24. It says, you who call yourself Jews are relying on God's law, and you boast about your special relationship with him. You're boasting about how you know God and all this stuff. Verse 18, you know what he wants. You know what is right because you have been taught his law. And you are convinced that you are a guide for the blind and a light for people who are lost in darkness. You think you can instruct the ignorant and teach children the ways of God, for you are certain that God's law gives you complete knowledge and truth. And all the Jews who are good Jews, like good, big church person, all these church people, they're like, yeah, man, I've been around, I know stuff, I'm a leader, I do this, I do that. Man, I can point people to Christ, I can do all these things. He's saying, no, that's me. And he says, here we go, verse 21. Well then, if you teach others, why don't you teach yourself? You tell others not to steal, but you steal. You say it's wrong to commit adultery, but do you commit adultery? You condemn idolatry, but do you use items stolen from pagan temples? You are so proud of knowing the law, but you dishonor God by breaking it. Verse 24, no wonder the scriptures say the Gentiles blaspheme the name of God because of you. There's a lot there. But what Paul is addressing is those who are religious. Right? He's addressing the Jews, those who he describes them. He says they know a bunch about God's law. They know a bunch about God's word. They do all sorts of things to show that. And Paul is addressing them. And what he says is, it's almost like he takes like a shovel and just hits their feet out from underneath them. They get so strong. Yeah, that's us. We can teach people. We can show people the way. Yeah, I'm a leader in this. I do this. I do this. And he says, you teach them that, but you're doing the same thing. You tell them, you condemn them because they're doing that, and you're living the same lifestyle. No one knows about it, but you're doing that. Saying you're calling them out on this sin, but you're doing the same thing over here. No one knows. You say that doesn't make any sense. It's this secrecy, right? He says you're claiming, and we who are religious are prone to this one, okay? We can feel good about ourselves because we're here at church, because we're doing devotions, because we're going to camp, because we're telling people about Jesus, and those are good things, and don't hear me saying, don't go do those things, right? But we can get so proud and so, man, yeah, that's me. And what Paul says is if you're just talking the talk, but you're not walking the walk, you got no feet to stand on. He's saying if you're claiming all these things and condemning people for how bad they are, but you're doing the same thing behind closed doors, then you've terribly missed the point. And in some ways, we're worse off. Because that's really what a hypocrite is. This hypocrite word, it has the idea of like a mask. Right? Anybody wear a mask? Anybody get to wear a mask this week for homecoming? No. Masks are... I was always confused when they talk about masquerades. They hold up that little thing, and somehow she couldn't recognize him because he had this little thing covering his eyes. I'm like, it's pretty obvious who he is, right? In the movies, you know what I'm talking about? I was like, really? Does that thing really keep you from recognizing the whole person? No. But it's this idea, right? To be a hypocrite means to wear a mask, right? Is that I'm trying to cover up what's really the real me. I'm trying to put on this mask so everybody thinks everything's good. I got my life together. I'm a leader in this. I'm a leader in that. And Paul says, no, that's hypocrisy. That's worse than those Gentiles who know nothing about God. And he says at the end, the Gentiles blaspheme the name of God because of you. What does it mean to blaspheme? That's not a word we use. Anybody? Okay. No, not really. What does it mean to blaspheme? Thank you.
To lie.
To lie? Okay. Kind of has that sense. Somebody said something here. To kind of talk bad about. Yeah, it's almost like this hate. This speaking evil of, and they blaspheme them. They just hate God. It's just that those who are not church people hate God because of people like you, hypocrites. That's what he says. And Paul's not playing around. I can't tell you how many times I've heard people say, man, I go to church, but that place is full of hypocrites. They act one way at church, but I see them every other day. And I see their life, and I know how they're really living. Your God can't exist. If he really existed in